we hustle, but the night we know that the ride or die.
Welcome to the House of the Princess.
I keep boys by my seat. Know that the ride or die.
I'm 50% righteous, 50% ratchet.
We hustle, but the night we boys by my seat. Know that the ride or die. My name came up a lot of sounds. More when
Thank
I was
y'all
not
for joining
around.
us.
Certain people that I know.
Good evening. Welcome to the House of the Princess. It is me, your host, Princess A.V. I know y'all want to see me, but I'm not coming on camera tonight. I kept going back and forth. I've been cleaning and doing homework and whatever. And this is going to be a more than one part. So when I do another video, I'll get back on camera. But in the meantime, if you're watching this in real time or on the replay, I'm going to ask that you show some manners and press the like button. And all of y'all that are here or come back later, please subscribe to the channel. And also, I've seen a decrease in membership and subscribership. So please double check your subscription because I haven't been on in a while. And sometimes YouTube will take your membership without your permission. So just make sure that you're subscribed. Also, make sure that you hit the notification bell. Like, I ain't done this in a while. Hit the notification bell so that you will be aware of every time that we go live. I see we got people here on YouTube and Facebook. And look, I have been bad. I have missed all my mom's birthdays, including the illustrious Black Diamond. Tell her a happy belated birthday. Roll call Will Crick, Miss Wilson, Miss Jack Trades, Ray all day. Go subscribe to them. Hi, Miss Mary Brown. So look, and I also know that everybody is stretched between channels. So if you get here, when you get here, again, just press the like button. I got to get my little voice together. So look, tonight I am going to read the full 100-page complaint of Rodney Jones versus Sean Puffy Combs and a whole bunch of other people. I will try to give as little commentary tonight as I'm reading, but then I'll do another video and we'll get down to the nitty gritty. So that's also why I was like, well, you don't need to see me in order to read. So without further ado, I'm just going to get down to business. This has been a lot to keep up with. It's really muddy, and I see people have their opinions, and I'm trying to be, with the facts and the facts and the facts. Okay, so wait a minute. I got this whole thing up. It won't let me. It's not a Chrome tab. It's a window. Hold on. Let me see if I can pull it up. I cut it off my internet. Let me see a slide. Let me see if it'll come up. Now here, look, I'm all rusty and whatnot. And they done changed. They done fucked up the thing and changed the whole thing. Meanwhile, I hope that y'all can make sure you've done everything that needs to be done. So, okay. Now I have to upload it to StreamYard because it won't let me share. So as soon as we get done with the processing, and I hope it's not too long, then I can just pull it up there. So aside from that, I've been doing okay. I know y'all been looking for me, but I am here and I am alive, and I am finishing in my schooling, and I'm getting A's and things. So there it is. Okay, so I know it's a little small. Is it a way that I can make it larger? Can y'all see that? Give me a 1 in the chat if you could see it. Give me a 2 if this is not working and I need to make it bigger. Because it looks kind of small on my television. Is there a delay? Give me a 1 in the chat if you can read it. 2 if it needs to be bigger. If y'all don't say nothing, I'm going to just let it be. Oh, thank you. I need to make it bigger. Okay, I already did the trial. Now look. Sign in. Okay. She said, is there something there? Okay, just give me a second. I'm gonna have to open it back up in my internet because it won't. I had it open in Adobe. I was like, okay, I'm gonna have it open and ready, and StreamYard won't. For some reason, it won't open that tab, but it opens everything else. I'm gonna have to upgrade this StreamYard real soon. Okay, yeah, window. Let me double check. Nope. Open everything, but it even opens my damn calculator, but it will not open this PDF. I find that interesting. And I ain't sharing my whole screen because that's how stuff gets murky. People be like, ooh, what you doing? So we ain't doing that. Now, let's try that. Okay. Carisha, is that you? Uh-huh. Why my stuff seems so big over here? Okay, now let's talk about if y'all could see this. The diamonds is floating in the background. Oh, never mind. Okay. Now, I bet y'all can see that just a little bit better. Now, if you on your phone, not Carisha. Hey, Carisha. I'm going to re-upload the video I did on YouTube. It's on the other page, but it never was on this page. Okay. Okay, so let's get down to business because this is a lot. Okay, it's real legible. Okay, now here we go. Okay, this file is filed in Federal Southern District Court of New York. So the plaintiff's name is Rodney Jones. He is suing Mr. Sean Puffy Combs, Justin Dior Combs, Cuba Gooding Jr., Lucian Charles Grange, Christina Coram, Love Records, Motown Records, Universal Music Group, Combs Global Enterprises, John and Jane Doe's 1 through 10, and ABC Corporations 1 through 10. And I'm just going to prelude this. When you suing somebody or you have a complaint against a person, you want to try to name everybody you can just in case you miss something. Like when they send out eviction letters, you say to that person and any unnamed occupants. Now you got to make sure you get everybody. So I think that's what's going on. Okay, and there is a trigger warning. This document contains highly graphic information of a sexual nature, including sexual assault. Additionally, there are graphic images of the aftermath of a shooting, redacted images of a sexual intercourse, redacted images of minors, sex workers, and prostitutes, details of sex trafficking, and the illegal distribution of guns and drugs. Plaintiff Rodney Little Rod Jones, or Mr. Jones, hereby alleges that, and for his complaint against the defendant Sean Combs, Mr. Combs, defendant Justin Dior Combs, J. Combs, defendant Lucien Charles Grange, or Mr. Grange, defendant Cuba Gooding Jr., Mr. Gooding Jr., defendant Christina Karam, Mrs. Karam, defendant Love Records, LR, defendant Motown Records, MR, defendant Universal Music Group, UMG, defendants Comb Global Enterprises, CGE, John and Jane Doe's number 1 through 10, ABC Corporations 1 through 10 as follows. Oh, I'm on the wrong screen. We're supposed to be over here. Jurisdiction and venue. The court has a personal jurisdiction over the defendants under the consistent constitutional requirements of due process, in that the defendants, acting directly through or his agents or apparent agents, committed one or more of the following. These are what he's assuming, accusing them of: the transaction of any business within the state, the making of any contract within the state, the commission of torturous acts within this district, and the ownership, use, or possession of any real estate in this state. From September 2022, the date of this filing, defendants have consistently and purposefully availed themselves of the privilege of conducting activities within New York, thus invoking the benefits and protections of New York law. In return for these benefits and protections, defendants must submit the burdens of litigation in New York. This litigation arises or relates from the torturous activities the defendants visit upon plaintiff Jones in New York, California, Florida, St. Bartholomew, and the United States Virgin Islands. This torturous conduct violated United States federal RICO laws and the United States Victim USVI of Trafficking and Violence Protection Act of 2000. Requiring defendants to litigate these claims in this district does not offend traditional notions of fair play and substantial justice. Plaintiff claims to arise from some conduct occurring by the defendants in New York, specifically the trafficking of the plaintiff across state lines between California, Florida, New York, and the USVI, and the trafficking of plaintiff internationally to St. Bartholomew. So what they saying is they charging him with a RICO, but Mr. Jones saying not only was they freaking on him and sex trafficking him in New York, but they took him to all of these places to do what it do. I'm going to make sure Sissy Cat said, when Diddy wants to party, you just got to tell him no, okay? Plaintiff Rodney Jones is an American artist and producer, music producer. Mr. Jones is domiciled in the state of New York, so that's where he lives. Now they picked some of the ugliest pictures of my man here. You know, the law, when they're accusing you of something, they got to make you look the ugliest and the meanest. Defendant Sean Combs. Defendant Sean Puffy Combs is a rapper and a record executive popularly known by his stage names Puff Daddy, Puffy, P. Diddy, Diddy, Brother Love, or Love. Mr. Combs became famous in the early 1990s with his record label Bad Boy Records. He rose to prominence in the music and entertainment industry over the decades and is regularly referred to as a hip-hop mogul. Okay, y'all need to hush now. Mr. Combs is domiciled at 200 South Mapleton Drive. Okay, we ain't going to do the full docs. Okay. Defendant Justin Dior Combs. Defendant Justin Dior Combs is the son of Mr. Combs and Misa Hilton. Jay Combs was born on December 30th, 1993. Jay Combs is a producer and actor. I don't know what he's been in, but okay. He's appeared on the TV series like Catfish, the TV show Wildin' Out, and Hip Hop Squares. Defendant Justin Combs is domiciled in LA. Okay, there goes his address. Lucien Charles Grange. Defendant Lucien Charles Grange is the CEO of Defendant Universal Music Group. Upon information and belief, Defendant Lucien Charles Grange is domiciled, blah, blah, blah. And I'm sorry, y'all. He got 5 addresses, and Defendant Lucien Charles Grange, in his capacity of CEO UMG, authorized Motown Records and Universal Music Group to enter into the General Business Partnership Agreement to provide financial resources to their general business partners, defendants Sean Combs and Love Records. Here you go, y'all friend. Cuba Gooding Jr. Okay. Defendant Cuba Gooding Jr. was a relevant actor who has fallen from grace due to several sexual assault lawsuits and a recent guilty plea for sexual assault. Upon information and belief, defendant Good, there goes his address. Defendant Christina Karam is the chief of staff to Sean Diddy Combs. Combs Global Enterprises, and upon information belief, that go her address, and she manages day-to-day operation of Combs Rico and TVPA Enterprises. Defendant Motown record label with a principal place of business located in LA. According to the declaration by former Motown chairwoman and CEO Ethiopia Habitarium, Motown Records, with the consent of the defendant UMG and presumably Ms. Habitarium direct supervisor, defendant Lucien Grange, entered a general partnership, as that term is defined by the laws of the state of New York, with defendants Love Records, Inc. and Sean Combs. Oh, Black Diamond Light. And he looked like a little drunkard, you know. Defendant Universal Music Group is a record label with the principal place located in Santa Monica, California. Lucien Grange is the chairperson and CEO of Universal Music Group, and defendant Lucien authorized Universal Music Group to enter general business partnership with Love Records, Inc. and Sean Combs. Additionally, according to former Motown chairwoman Ms. Habitarium, they provided funding and or reimbursement for expenses associated with the cost of the Love album. The Love album was released on September 23rd, 2023. And I actually have not listened to it. That's interesting. Defendant Love Records is a label with the principal place of business in LA. Defendant Combs founded Defendant Love Records. And according to the website, Defendant Motown Records helped Sean Combs to establish Love Records and had a distribution deal for the Love album. And we have Combs Global. Defendant Enterprises, Combs Enterprises is a diverse portfolio of business and investments, including music, fashion, fragrance, beverage, marketing, film, television, and media properties. They have a principal place of business located in New York, New York. If you haven't, I suggest, because I'm about to do a lot of work, and my voice already starting to act up as soon as I start. I'm going to need you to hit the like button, okay? And I need to go grab something, so I am going to play a quick commercial just so I won't have dead air. That's it. Hit the like button. Thank you. Okay, we back. Let me go back to my screen. Trying to get these little pills out. Okay. He from Chicago. Oh, Lord. I'm really finna get deep into this now. Let me find out who he know. Because if he knows somebody, and he knows somebody that I know. Okay. Rodney Little Rod Jones Jr. is from the Windy City, Chi-Town. He was born and raised in Chicago, Illinois. Mr. Jones is the second oldest son and fourth child out of 9 siblings. Mr. Jones comes from a long line of gospel music influencers. Mr. Jones started playing instruments at the age of 5, and he began playing the drums in church. And at 13, he picked up the guitar. From 13 to present day, Mr. Jones taught himself how to play over 13 instruments. Okay, let me take this allergy pill. I guess that's him with everybody else. Him over there in the back. There go little Rodney over in the church. Mr. Jones, the prodigy. Mr. Jones is considered a musical prodigy. His talents have led him to produce and create commercial marketplace for music that has been recorded by some of the most prestigious and highly acclaimed artists in the music industry. Throughout his career, Mr. Jones has worked on the South Side of Chicago music scene, playing with the following legendary acts: Georgia Mass Choir, Donald Lawrence, the Clark Sisters, and Smokey Norfolk. On or about August 22nd, Mr. Jones received a call from Mr. Combs' representative requesting that he produce several songs on the rhythm and blues album titled The Love Album, Off the Grid. Mr. Jones agreed, and his life has been detrimentally impacted ever since. During the relevant period, defendants John and Jane Doe 1 through 10 are currently unknown individuals or employees who have aided and or abetted the commission of conduct, complaint, and hearing, and or who either acted within the scope of their employment, defendants ratified, embraced, or added to this conduct. As parties engage in discovery, plaintiff retains the right to amend the complaint and add these individuals' employees by name. During the relevant period, defendants ABC Corps 1 through 10 are currently unknown entities who employed the plaintiff or aided and or abetted the commission of conduct complained herein. As the parties engage in discovery, the plaintiff retains the right to amend the complaint and add these entities or individuals by name. So it's some old people, some employees that have done some stuff. He ain't said who they are, but he can add them at any point. And as of today, this is the amended copy of the complaint. So he's added some people into the mix. From September 22nd to September 22nd, I'm sorry, let's start over. From September 2022 to September 2023, Mr. Jones produced 9 songs on Mr. Combs' Love album. From September 2022 to 2023, Mr. Jones lived with Mr. Combs for months, spending holidays, birthdays, and missing major family events, and I don't know why. Mr. Jones resided at Mr. Combs' residences in Los Angeles, California, and in Miami, Florida. He also spent several weeks on a yacht rented by Mr. Combs in the U.S. Virgin Islands and St. Bartholomew. Is that St. Bart's? As detailed below, Mr. Jones has made several trips with Mr. Combs to New York City throughout his time living with him. Throughout his time with Mr. Combs, Mr. Jones witnessed, experienced, and endured many things that went far beyond his role as a producer on the Love album. The claims raised in this complaint have been corroborated through the witness statements, video, audio recordings, personal experiences, and images Mr. Jones possesses. Mr. Combs required Mr. Jones to record him constantly. On several occasions, Mr. Combs took Mr. Jones's cell phone and began recording himself. As a result, Mr. Jones has secured hundreds of hours of footage and audio recordings of Mr. Combs, his staff, his guests, engaging in serious illegal activity. Mr. Jones has personally witnessed and secured irrefutable evidence of A, the acquisition, use, and distribution of ecstasy, cocaine, GHB, ketamine, marijuana, and mushrooms. They do drugs. The displaying and distribution of unregistered illegal firearms. Mr. Combs providing laced alcoholic beverages to minors, LA home, July 2023, and sex workers in his homes in California and the U.S. Virgin Islands, Florida, and St. Bartholomew. Mr. Combs' chief of staff, Christina Caron, also known as KK, instructs her staff to retrieve drugs so that she can provide them to Mr. Combs for his consumption. Not Ray. Kristen Combs drugging and sexually assaulting the woman. Mr. Combs detailing how he planned to leverage his relationship with T.D. Jakes to soften the impact on his public image of Cassie Ventura's lawsuit. Young Miami's cousin and or assistant sexually assaulting Mr. Jones. Actor Cuba Gooding Jr. sexually harassing and assaulting Mr. Jones. Rapper, who was redacted, on Mr. Combs' yacht consorting with underage girls, sex workers, and R&B singer, his name is redacted. How stupid. I hate y'all. In Mr. Combs' LA home, consorting with underage girls and sex workers. So this first account is the Chalice Recording Studio shooting. So this is his account of what happened. On or about September 12, 2022, Mr. Combs held a writers and producers camp at Chalice Recording Studio in Los Angeles, California. Mr. Combs, his son Justin Combs, and Justin's friend G were present at this camp. Based on the information and belief, Mr. G is a 30-year-old tall African-American male. Based on the information and belief, in addition to these individuals, other musicians were present at the camp. This writer has spoken to several musicians who attended the camp. One evening during the camp, Mr. Combs, J. Combs, and G were in a heated conversation. That conversation was moved out of the studio into a restroom adjacent to where Mr. Jones was sitting. I'm not reading all those little things. Oh, wait, maybe I will. All right, they said it was spiking bottles of champagne with ecstasy. Okay. He's a Grammy Award winner. Oh, these are notes. So look, we back. Maybe we go back up here. Okay. Number 2. Number 3. When we go back to number 3 here. The I. Okay, that's where we're going back to. Okay. There are notes. Okay. He is a Philadelphia rapper who dated Nicki Minaj. Okay. So they said that rapper was consorting with underage girls and sex workers. So whoever the rapper is that dated Nicki Minaj, that's who he's saying was freaking with the little girls. And then the 4th one, the R&B singer, is a Grammy Award-winning R&B singer who had trouble with law enforcement before assaulting Bajan Billionaire. So who is Bajan? I've never heard of Bajan Billionaire. So let's find out real quick. Okay, it's a whole bunch of other stuff coming up. Obviously, Rihanna, wait. I see all the newest stuff. I want to see. Give me a second here because they showing all the lawsuit stuff. And I want to know who is who. If y'all know, yeah, I wonder who's in Philly who dated Onika. Who could have that been? Oh, I see a picture of Chris Brown. Alleged. Well, I see a picture. It's not alleged. I'm looking at a picture of Chris Brown and Meek Mill. Let me see. Don't say it was Chris Brown whooping ass. Let me dig deeper. Wait. Oh yeah, they trying to say that was Chris Brown. Somebody earlier said Bobby Brown. I'm like, his old ass ain't got into no fight. And I would make it because I keep seeing Rihanna's name come up, so that would make sense if it was Chris Brown. Interesting. They said this was in 2009, allegedly. Oh, wait, he assaulted her in 2009. Oh, what is it saying? I keep seeing old shit, but I'm looking for... Okay. Okay, Bajan Billionaire was his first show. He He did the Super Bowl with Rihanna. This is his first show since the 2016 Music Awards. But I don't see the connection. That's deep. But it might be Chris Brown. But I can't say. He's oldest bitch to swallow up. Y'all is crazy. Yeah, this case keeps coming up, but yeah, it might be Chris Brown. I am going to dig deep into that and verify that for you. I'm sorry I took this long pause, but yeah, everybody got a picture of Chris Brown up on the screen. But I don't know. When I have time, I'm gonna dig that up and we're gonna talk about that in the next live. Interesting. But we know who the Philadelphia rapper is. Okay. Back to the show, you guys. Mr. Jones was approximately 2 feet away from the bathroom when gunshots rang out. Mr. Jones recalls hearing multiple gunshots. Mr. Jones immediately went into a state of shock and feared that he would be shot next. Mr. Jones genuinely believed that he would be shot through the door due to how close he was. After the shooting ended, a crowd gathered around the restroom. Now, usually black folks ran away from shootings. I don't know. Upon information and belief, when the door finally opened, Mr. Combs and Miss J. Combs exited. G was lying on the restroom floor in a fetal position on his stomach and bleeding out of his torso and leg or hip area. Everyone stood around looking upon G. Frustrated by the lack of aid to G, Mr. Jones dropped everything, ran to G, and immediately placing pressure on G's gunshot wound to his torso. As he was applying pressure to his torso, Mr. Jones realized that G was gushing blood from another area near his leg and hip. He decided to lift G and place him on to sit on the toilet. Mr. Jones asked the crowd to call an ambulance. Mr. Jones lifted G and brought him to the ambulance at the front of the studio. At this time, Mr. Combs and Justin disappeared to another part of the studio. Mr. Combs gave strict instructions to inform the police that he had nothing to do with the shooting. He also forced Mr. Jones to lie to the police by telling them that G was shot standing outside the studio by a drive-by assailant. I don't know how you set that up. I'm just kind of curious, how that really happens and police don't come in to verify any of the stuff, I guess. Yeah, I believe Chris Brown freaky, but he's not that freaky. I know a sex worker that he asked to do something, they changed their mind. Okay. So, man shot outside at the Hollywood recording studio, and this is the article. Okay. You're going to see some blood and gore. Okay. We don't need to reread that. That was the article. Mr. Jones has several corroborating witnesses who spoke with this writer anonymously because they feared retaliation from Mr. Combs. They have agreed to speak publicly when subpoenaed. Mr. Jones has the clothing he wore that day and believes it still may have G's blood stains on the DNA. The following are screenshots of the aftermath of the restroom where G was shot by either Mr. Combs or J. Combs. Y'all getting this good stuff? Hit the like button. So you see the blood. It ain't that much, but yeah. There's the evidence. Exhibit A. Upon information and belief, it is clear that G was not shot outside the studio as Mr. Combs instructed his team to report to law enforcement. Upon information and belief, Mr. Combs and defendant LRMR, UMG, and CRS provided private security for the writers' camp at Chalice. The security was porous and lackluster at best. So they said they didn't have no security really for this, even though they was paying for it. The fact that either Mr. Combs and Jay Combs were allowed to enter CRS with guns and those guns were not confiscated by security is a clear breach of duty by Mr. Combs, defendants LRMR and UMG to protect Mr. Jones and other attendees of this writers' camp. As a result of this shooting, Mr. Jones is severely traumatized. Mr. Jones now suffers from PTSD, severe anxiety, depression, and insomnia. The following is an image of Mr. Combs in a couple of hours before G is shot in the restroom of Chalice. Oh, how'd I go there? I didn't mean to do that. September 11, 2022. Look, he wearing house shoes and shit. Yeah. This photo of Mr. Combs was taken at Chalice Recording Studios outside Studio G hours before G was shot. Chalice Recording Studios and defendant Sean Combs and Justin Combs represent Sean Hawley, providing conflicting and intellectually dishonest accounts concerning the shooting. On or about February 28th, 2024, Chalice sent an Instagram message which alleges that G was shot a half a block away from Chalice. Okay, so they lying everybody lying. Okay. So he was shot in the bathroom, but now they say he was shot out front, and now they posted that it was a half a block away. So this is where they lied. It was a result of a robbery, and the police reports corroborating this. Please wait for the facts. You know, don't be talking bad about us and then nothing happened, right? Upon information and belief, Sean Hawley claimed that she had evidence the shooting took place several blocks away and that G returned to the studio after being shot. Upon information and belief, TMZ reports that the law enforcement sources claimed that the story that was told to the cops that night, namely the victim, was robbed at gunpoint and shot by unknown assailants outside. The gunshot victim stepped outside the studio around 3:30 a.m. and was accosted by two individuals, at which point they tried to rob him, and the man suffered a gunshot wound. Below is the image at the front of Chalice Studios. And Sean Hawley is the lawyer that represented Tory Lanez and Danny Masterson. So she likes to represent scumbags. So that means she makes a lot of money. But if he was shot, like, why wouldn't there be like blood up and down the street? Like, did they think about that? I mean, he walked all the way down the street, right? In the photo above, the white van is blocking the security gate. Upon information and belief, enter the building. You must buzz the gate and announce which session you are there to attend. So wouldn't that mean they had cameras? I'm just saying. Upon information and belief, once the correct session is confirmed, you then must go past another layer of security before you can enter the reception area. Upon information and belief, once you're inside the reception area, you must identify yourself and the receptionist will check to ensure that you are on the list of visitors for that session. Once you are confirmed, then you are allowed in. Upon information and belief, to get to the restroom where G was bleeding out, you will have to follow a maze. Once you pass the receptionist, you walk down a long hallway, walk past 3 recording studios, turn left, go past a lounge area, before you arrived to the restroom where G was bleeding out. Upon information and belief, TMZ also reported that Mr. Combs and J. Combs were not in the studio when the police arrived. That is actually, they was also factually inaccurate. So they lied and then they just fucked up the lie. Mr. Combs and J. Combs were located in Studio G across the parking lot from the building where G was shot near Studio A. Mr. Combs and J. Combs hid out and recorded Studio G, where the police investigated, and they were the first to depart after the police left. Hit Boy was there. Hit Boy got a room, all of them, okay. Ty Dolla $ign had something going on. Eric Ballinger, okay, they was all there, right? Don't forget to hit the like button. Okay. Mr. Jones published the Love Chalice Recording Studios assignment list. And Mr. Combs stayed in Studio G throughout the duration of the writer's camp. I guess he was probably in the underground. Not the underground tunnel. Upon information and belief, after being shot in the torso and hip or leg, G was physically incapable of walking. I mean, that makes sense to me. Therefore, the notion that he was shot several blocks away, Sean Hawley, half a block away, CRS, or that he stepped outside the studio is implausible. So if G could do as much walking as Sean Hawley and CRS claim, then Mr. Jones would not have been required to physically pick him up off the restroom floor and walk him through the maze that CRS is for him to receive care from the ambulance. So all y'all is lying. Y'all liars. 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 And they said this fact will be made crystal clear in discovery. Okay. As the date of this filing, neither the Los Angeles Police Department or the LA Fire Department has released any official reports surrounding the shooting. There has been no body camera footage or 911 call recording. What is even more disturbing is that there has been no sighting of G. The LAPD has only released vaguely written news release dated September 12, 2022. The unfortunate shooting of G and the unexplained disappearance of G and the lack of disclosures by LAPD and LAFD and the incoherent nature of Sean Hawley and Chalice Recording Studios account of the shooting raises more questions than answers at the point of foul play and apparent massive cover-up. So what y'all saying is that Diddy got fixes. I'm just saying. The deafening silence from the attendees of the CRS shooting stems from understandable fear that the attendees would be sued by Mr. Combs for violating a non-disclosure agreement. Upon information and belief a few days late before September 12, 2022, the shooting inside of Chalice Recording Studios, Mr. Combs required all attendees of the CRS shooting to sign an NDA. Mr. Jones did not sign it. A copy of the NDA that a witness who had asked to remain anonymous provided this writer is attached. It's attachment A. It says, unfortunately for the attendees of the writers' camp, they are unaware the NDAs are non-binding when it comes to reporting criminal activity such as a shooting, sex trafficking, and the distribution and use of illegal drugs and guns. Mr. Jones was sexually harassed and assaulted by Mr. Combs. Throughout his time living with Mr. Combs, Mr. Jones was a victim of constant, unsolicited, and unauthorized groping and touching of his anus by Mr. Combs. These events occurred in LA, New York, Florida, and St. Bart's and the U.S. Virgin Islands. In addition to the unsolicited and unauthorized touching, Mr. Jones was forced by Mr. Combs to work in Mr. Combs' bathroom as Mr. Combs walked around bucket naked and showered in a clear glass enclosure. And what is he doing? Making beats on the toilet, on the couch? I don't understand. I have questions, okay? As a heterosexual Christian man, Mr. Jones was uncomfortable with Mr. Combs' advances and expressed his discomfort to Mr. Combs' chief of staff, defendant Christine Corral. KK responded to Mr. Jones' complaint with, "You know Sean will be Sean." KK also attempted to downplay Mr. Combs' groping of Mr. Jones' anus and genitals as friendly horseplay, stating that those acts were Mr. Combs' way of showing that he likes you, Mr. Jones. So I only like you if I play in between your legs and in your butt. Okay. Despite the assurances on several occasions when Mr. Combs began to undress and walk around his house naked, KK would say, "Okay, I'm leaving now." And she would disappear, and KK's hypocrisy is breathtaking at best or enabling at worst. Mr. Jones believes that KK aided and abetted Mr. Combs' sexual assault, and he was working with Mr. Combs to groom him into accepting a homosexual relationship. Through these sexually deviant acts, one would say Mr. Combs has a pattern and a practice of engaging in such nefarious activity. This ongoing conduct shows that Mr. Combs cannot be rehabilitated. Okay? Mr. Combs, I heard about him slapping his mom. I was like, ooh. Mr. Combs attempted to groom Mr. Jones into engaging in gay sex. Mr. Combs knew Mr. Jones looked up to and idolized music producer Stephen Aaron Jordan, also known as Stevie J. Based on the information and belief, Stevie J is an American DJ, record producer, and television personality. And based on information and belief, Stevie J is a part of the Bad Boy Records production team, The Hitmen. Upon information and belief, in 1997, Stevie J won a Grammy Award for his work on Puff Daddy's debut album. And upon information and belief, throughout the late 1990s, Stevie J produced for several artists, including Mariah Carey, Tevin Campbell, The Notorious B.I.G., 112, Jodeci, Faith Evans, Jay-Z, and Eve. And low-key, like if I got my album put out, sans the sex stuff, like I wouldn't mind Stevie J producing something for me. He's excellent. But based on information and belief, Stevie J is one of the producers of the Love album. And according to Mr. Jones, Mr. Combs used access to Stevie J and his knowledge of Mr. Jones's admiration of Stevie J to groom and entice Mr. Jones to engage in homosexual acts. Mr. Combs went so far to share a video which he claims as Stevie J anally penetrating a Caucasian male without a condom. Mr. Jones believed that Mr. Combs showed him this and attributed to his idol, Stevie J, to ease Mr. Jones's anxiety concerning homosexuality. According to Mr. Jones, Mr. Combs said this is a normal practice in the music industry. Look, even Stevie J is doing it. According to Mr. Jones, Mr. Combs informed Mr. Jones that he had engaged in sexual intercourse with a rapper, redacted, R&B singer, redacted, and Stevie J. According to Mr. Jones, Mr. Combs promised to make sure that Mr. Jones wins Producer of the Year at the Grammys if he engaged in sexual acts. Look, when Diddy say he want a party, you gotta tell him no. So he said that him and Stevie J done bust down. That hurts my feelings, okay? Let's go to the notes, okay? The writer is in possession of the video and will provide a copy to the court. Interesting. Upon information and belief, Stevie J denies that he is the person in the video. A male porn star claimed that he is the black man in the video. And Mr. Jones stands by his position that Mr. Combs provided him with the video and identified the individual in the video as Stevie J. So I think this came out a couple of weeks ago. Apparently some folks have seen it. They say it's not Stevie J. Stevie J said it's not his dick. I have seen Stevie J naked before. And he's a weird little thing. And so he had videos with Eve. Don't ask me why. But I've seen it, you be nosy. So you could kind of tell, unless it's one of them R. Kelly things, you would know. Okay. Again, this note is he is a Philadelphia rapper who dated Nicki Minaj. And here's a note. Not my husband. No. I'm gonna cry. He performed at the Super Bowl and had a successful Vegas residency. So he said he done fucked U.S.H.E.R. Okay. And that man who dated Nicki Minaj, who they said on the video, he was like, take that. The writer is in possession of the video and will provide a copy to the court. So they saying they got them on video. Fuck it. Thanksgiving 2022. Mr. Jones is sexually assaulted by Young Miami's cousin. On Thanksgiving Day 2022, Mr. Jones was in Mr. Combs' house in Miami, Florida. Young Miami and her female cousin, Jane Doe, were also present. According to Mr. Jones, Mr. Combs was intoxicated and offered cocaine to Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones rejected him and proceeded to walk into the restroom. While using the restroom, Young Miami's cousin burst into the bathroom and began groping Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones believes that Mr. Combs sent her in there to sexually assault Mr. Jones. According to Mr. Jones, as she entered the bathroom, she dropped to her knees and began performing oral sex on Mr. Jones's exposed penis. Mr. Jones pushed her away and exited the bathroom. According to Mr. Jones, Young Miami's cousin did not accept Mr. Jones's rejection, and as she proceeded to follow Mr. Jones's out the bathroom, she started undressing and attempted to straddle him and have sex with him in the presence of Mr. Combs and his staff. Despite the lack of assistance from Mr. Combs and his staff, Mr. Jones pushed her off, and the following images are from a video of Young Miami, her cousin, Mr. Jones, and Mr. Combs. Okay. He didn't want no dessert and Thanksgiving dinner. Okay. So here they go. They on the couch. That's Lil Rod. That's Puffy. That's Carisha and her cousin out there. Okay. He went on ahead. Everybody like y'all ain't no good. Oh, I'm on the wrong screen trying to highlight some stuff. Hold on, let me go back to these comments. Oh man, he didn't like cocaine head, okay? Okay, these folks is over here on Thanksgiving Day. You know, instead of being with your family, you over here doing cocaine and on the boat and, you know, having sex. Well, it looked like a little outfit was easy access. I don't know. Okay. Carisha said, you gonna give him some or nah? Whoever that is over in the corner. And look at little Rod, he's sitting right next to Diddy. Like, you know. Man, if you don't get the fuck away from me, like, I don't understand. I understand being scared and being a victim, but at some point you got to, you know, go on the ground, get in the witness protection program, something, okay? Trafficking and Victims Protection Act. According to Mr. Jones, he was transported from California to New York, Florida, St. Bart's, and the United States Virgin Islands throughout his time with Mr. Combs. And according to Mr. Jones, during this time, Mr. Jones was forced to solicit sex workers and perform sex acts to the pleasure of Mr. Combs. On or about February 4th, 2023, Mr. Combs forced Mr. Jones to bring prostitutes and sex workers back to his home in Miami, Florida. And I guess that's the sex worker, and they got the Love Records stuff on. He got the little hoochie daddy shorts on, and like they ready, and no shoes. Okay. The sex workers that forced Mr. Jones, let's start over. The sex workers that Mr. Combs forced Mr. Jones to bring back to his home. On or about February 2nd, 2023, Mr. Jones believes Mr. Combs drugged him. And Mr. Jones recalls waking up naked, dizzy, and confused. He was in the bed with two sex workers and Mr. Combs. He also recalls aimlessly wandering around the house with no clothes on. So he's saying they drugged him, and Mr. Combs, Sean John, had a family reunion with him and some other prostitutes, okay? What are these pictures of? Okay, they in the bed. They in the bed, okay? I guess. Sex workers in Mr. Jones's bed in the morning after being drugged. According to Mr. Jones, on another occasion in Miami, Florida, on Thanksgiving night of 2022, Mr. Combs asked Mr. Jones and DeForest Taylor to enter the studio bathroom. According to Mr. Jones, he asked them for a $100 bill because he wanted them to do cocaine with him. Man, you can't even do it with a $1 bill. He said we do cocaine on a $100 bill. Do you hear me? Because we fancy. Okay. Mr. Jones was scared, but luckily he didn't have a $100 bill. So Mr. Combs waited a little later to do coke with Young Miami. According to Mr. Jones, later that evening, Mr. Combs required Mr. Jones to solicit sex workers from Booby Trap on the River. Mr. Jones did so, and Mr. Combs forced him to engage in unsolicited sex acts with these workers. What is it? Why he ain't say he checked his booty for grease? That's the first thing folks check. To see if it was wet. Okay, this is the Booby Trap. Okay, I bet you people gonna be going there now like crazy. Just to see this what Diddy was. Okay. Booby Trap on the River. According to Mr. Jones, as a part of Mr. Jones's sex worker recruitment tools, Mr. Combs provided Mr. Jones with an exclusive bad boy baseball cap. They required him to wear it to the Booby Trap on the River as a signal to any sex worker that he approached that Mr. Combs was in town and had sent Mr. Jones to recruit them. According to Mr. Jones had no desire to visit the Booby Trap on the River. Mr. Jones had no desire to solicit sex workers from the Booby Trap on the River. Mr. Combs used his power and influence to intimidate and force Mr. Jones into soliciting sex workers from the booby trap on the river. As detailed below, Mr. Combs used many tactics to maintain dominion and control over Mr. Jones. According to Mr. Jones, these workers were accustomed to servicing Mr. Combs and would know when he was in town by the sight of the bad boy's baseball cap. This is some interesting shit here. The following are Instagram profiles of 2 sex workers that Mr. Combs required Mr. Jones to solicit and have sex with at his home in Miami, Florida. So that's 2 of the hoes, okay? See, I know you don't like no blacker girls, really. I don't know. Where the hoes at? Here they go. Okay. Mr. Jones had no desire to solicit or have sex with individuals in the previous paragraph. According to Mr. Jones, Mr. Combs used his power and influence to intimidate and force Mr. Jones into soliciting and sleeping with these women. The following is the phone number of another sex worker that Mr. Combs required Mr. Jones to solicit and perform sex acts at his home in Miami, Florida. Let's call a girl, okay? Mr. Jones had no desire to solicit or have sex with the individual in the previous paragraphs. According to Mr. Jones, Mr. Combs used his power and influence to intimidate and force Mr. Jones into soliciting and sleeping with the individuals above. If you don't fuck these girls, you're going to be poor. And I'm going to beat your ass. I guess that's what happened. And your mama, too. According to Mr. Jones, Mr. Combs used many tactics to maintain dominion and control over Mr. Jones. He promised him a Grammy for Producer of the Year for the Love album. I don't even know how he could do that, but I guess if you gullible, go ahead with it. We're about halfway through. He offered him $250,000 to purchase all the instruments that he wanted. He promised him ownership of his $20 million property, Star Island in Miami, Florida. He promised access to record label executive. Well, first of all, he just gonna give you $20 million. You gullible as hell, I guess. You never mind. According to Mr. Jones, Mr. Combs would often switch up his approach. He would go from promising Mr. Jones the world to threatening Mr. Jones with physical harm. Mr. Combs threatened to eat Mr. Jones's face and informed Mr. Jones that he was willing to kill his mother, Janice Combs, if he must get what he wanted. So why he wouldn't think of twice about harming Mr. Jones. In light of Mr. Combs' detailed history of committed violent crimes, the plaintiff's fear for Mr. Combs is reasonable. I believe he was scared of him. I do. Now, I'm wondering who they probably had a doctor on site for all them STDs. That's just nasty, I guess. Mr. Jones has potentially witnessed Mr. Combs and Mr. J. Combs solicit, drug, and engage in illicit sex acts. On or about July 2nd, 2023, Mr. Combs held a listening party at his home in California. According to Mr. Jones, present at this party were R&B artists blank, J. Combs, sex workers, and some underage girls. Okay, don't tell us. According to Mr. Jones, the event began at 7 p.m. Mr. Combs requested female sex workers and required Mr. Jones to solicit them. An hour later, several sex workers appeared. According to Mr. Jones, in addition to sex workers, there were at least 5 women in the crowd who were under the age of 16. According to Mr. Jones, Mr. Combs forced all the women to drink Lace de Leon liquor. Upon information and belief, Mr. Combs laced the liquor with ecstasy. Somebody else said that you don't drink liquor from Mr. Combs. You better check it. According to Mr. Jones, Mr. Combs did not check the identification of any of these underage girls. According to Mr. Jones, the presence of these underage women made him very uncomfortable. He attempted to leave, and Mr. Combs forced him to stay. According to Mr. Jones, Mr. Combs went so far to take Mr. Jones's car keys to prevent him from leaving. After being forced to drink Lace de Leon shots, Mr. Jones began feeling lightheaded and recalls passing out and waking up at 4 a.m. the following morning, naked, with a sex worker sleeping next to him. The plaintiff Jones is in possession of the video and will provide a copy to the court. Okay, because he got people on video. We got you on camera. We got you on candid camera. Mr. Jones believes Mr. Combs was grooming him to pass him off to his friends. The fear became a reality when Mr. Combs introduced Mr. Jones to Cuba Gooding Jr. while they were on Mr. Combs's yacht. According to Mr. Jones, during the introduction, Mr. Combs suggested that Cuba get to know Mr. Jones better. He then left them alone at a makeshift studio on the yacht. And you can see that red light special all through the night. Okay, that is Cuba Gooding Jr. and Sean Puffy P. Diddy Combs touching each other on the arms saying, yes, I got my friend. I want to introduce you to him. That's Mr. Combs and Mr. Gooding Jr. moments before Mr. Jones is assaulted. As evidenced by video, of which screenshots are embedded now, Cuba Gooding Jr. began touching, groping, and fondling Mr. Jones's legs, his upper inner thighs near his groin, the small of his back near his buttocks, and his shoulders. According to Mr. Jones, he was extremely uncomfortable and proceeded to lean away from Mr. Gooding. The writer has spoken to an eyewitness who was a former employee of the yacht who confirmed this. Oh, shit. We got a witness. Can I get a witness? Okay. Y'all, I've seen pieces of this, but you might get my first reaction. Okay. I'm sorry. Let me have a drink of water. Y'all hit that like button, please. Ooh, child. He rejected his advances, and Mr. Gooding Jr. did not stop until Mr. Jones forcibly pushed him away. The following is a screenshot of the encounter with Cuba Gooding Jr. Little Rod ain't so little. Why is he letting these niggas do this to him? Cuba Gooding forcibly touching Mr. Jones on Mr. Combs' yacht. The writer is in possession of the video and provide a copy to the court. Mr. Gooding has a storied history of sexually assaulting and forcibly touching individuals against his will. You know, I really didn't want to believe too much when they say he was grabbing the women at the butt down to the restaurant, but I am like, this Come on, man. Jeez. Okay. The Love album. Throughout his time with Mr. Combs, Mr. Jones was under an implied work for hire agreement. According to Mr. Jones, he was not compensated for his time living with Mr. Combs or for the songs he produced. According to Mr. Jones, he was recruited by Frankie Santella to work for the Love album. Mr. Jones informed Mr. Santella that he required the following to work on the Love album. It is $20,000 per song. Man, I need to work on my producing if I can make that kind of money. Jesus Christ. 4 royalty points, credited as a producer and credited for each instrument Mr. Jones played. And Mr. Jones must retain rights to his publishing. I'm with you, sir. According to Mr. Jones, they agreed to the terms detailed above after meeting with Frankie Santella. Mr. Jones met with defendant Combs, who further reiterated and guaranteed that the above-mentioned terms were accepted. As a result, Mr. Jones began working on the album. Why didn't he get this in writing? That's all I have to say. That was on you, sir. As evidence, he was listed as a producer for the following songs on the Love album final release: Deliver Me, Stay Part 1, Reachin', What's Love, Stay a While, Moments, Need Somebody, Homecoming, and Tough Love. Mr. Jones and the defendants LRMRUMG benefited from Mr. Jones's work product. They failed to compensate Mr. Jones for his work. As a result, Mr. Combs and defendant LRMRUMG were unjustly enriched at Mr. Jones's expense. According to Mr. Jones, he attempted to work with Mr. Combs to secure his publishing and royalty rights for the work he completed on the Love album. Mr. Combs only offered Mr. Jones $29,000 for 13 months, thousands of hours of work, and 9 songs that made it to the Love album. Mr. Jones was willing to take $50,000, his publishing and royalties. You let this man fuck you, and he fucked you. Excuse me. Mr. Combs' self-serving greed would not allow him to pay Mr. Jones an additional $21,000. Well, that's him doing bad business because he should have got it in writing. The writer has retained other creative artists and writers who experienced the same treatment from Mr. Combs and will file a suit in the coming month. Oh my God, and they're going to get a class action suit against your ass, Puffy. Oh my God. The Combs' deceptive business practices became so bad that Mr. Jones is left with no choice other than to make a public plea on social media for Mr. Combs to pay him for his work. After publicly requesting that Mr. Combs do the right thing and pay him fairly, Mr. Jones received an onslaught of threatening messages from Stevie J and Love Records A&R DeForest Taylor. And it says DeForest, as an A&R of Love Records, DeForest Taylor did not require Mr. Jones or any other creators, musicians, or artists to sign an NDA. Is we at the freak off? Okay. All right. These are messages from Mr. DeForest. You playing? I'm in the studio. Then he plays a voice message for him. LOL, you're 100% liar and weirdo. You know, I'm speculating that's his life. Good luck. And I'm still saying, run into nigga. Come talk to me in public, on the public broadcast and forum. Okay. I guess that's DeForest. We looking at over there at the freak off, you know. About to get the freaky on. He keep covering his penis in them gray sweatpants. Oh, that was DeForest Taylor threatening Mr. Jones. Mr. Combs used his power and influence to threaten and intimidate Mr. Jones. According to Mr. Jones, Mr. Combs is very forceful and demanding. According to Mr. Jones, Mr. Combs does not take no for an answer and would often threaten to inflict bodily harm on Mr. Jones and if Mr. Jones did not comply with his demands. As detailed above, Mr. Combs threatened to eat Mr. Jones's face. According to Mr. Jones, on another occasion, while standing in Mr. Combs' bedroom, Mr. Jones was forced to watch Mr. Combs display his guns and bragged about getting away with shooting people. Let's keep that on our minds, ladies and gentlemen, okay? According to Mr. Jones, Mr. Combs shared that he was responsible for the shooting in the nightclub in New York City with the rapper Shine. That's deep. Okay. And that's, Gene Deal. Okay, we can watch that, later. Talking about the Shine shooting. According to Mr. Jones, he shared that artist and Mr. Combs' girlfriend at the time, Jennifer Lopez, aka J-Lo, carried the firearm into the club for him and passed him the gun after he got into the altercation with another individual. Oh man, y'all over here tainting Jennifer Lopez image. Oh God. You didn't miss much. Just Cuba good and want to get down. Okay. According to the civil complaint filed by Cassie Ventura during their decade-long relationship, Mr. Combs demanded that Miss Ventura to carry his firearm in her purse just to make her uncomfortable and demonstrate how dangerous he is. Hey, cuz. According to Mr. Jones, as the case with Miss Jennifer Lopez and Miss Ventura, Mr. Combs required Brandon Paul and Mr. Jones to carry his firearm on their person whenever they went out. One of these occasions, Mr. Jones was required to carry Mr. Combs' firearm when it was Mr. Combs recorded himself coaching Mr. Jones on how to solicit sex workers. Look at that, how they do. Don't do my J-Lo like that. She's a good girl. That's why she got away from your ass. Okay. According to Mr. Jones, the shooting in the Chalice recording studios confirmed that Mr. Combs' statements. Based on information and belief, these statements reinforce Mr. Jones's fear of Mr. Combs and strengthen Mr. Combs' dominion and control over Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones was terrified of Mr. Combs, and he felt like he could not tell him no. According to Mr. Jones, Mr. Combs consistently made it clear that he has immense power in the music industry and with law enforcement. According to Mr. Jones, Mr. Combs made it clear that his head of security, Fahim Muhammad, Mr. Muhammad, had the power to make people and problems disappear. I can see that. These names have popped up in the Biggie and Tupac murders. He cute though. Look at Mr. Muhammad. Okay, all right. According to Mr. Jones, Mr. Combs instructs the staff to always contact Mr. Muhammad if the police in Miami or California ever pull him over. So he's a fixer, you guys. He's a fixer. Upon information and belief, Mr. Muhammad spoke with LAPD after G was shot in CRS. The LAPD was in CRS and witnessed the blood in the restroom, and they went with the bogus claim of the shooting of G outside the studio. My nose is just itching all of a sudden. This was all thanks to Mr. Muhammad's connection with law enforcement. Mr. Jones had no reason to disbelieve Mr. Combs, as he had seen firsthand through the shooting of G and subsequent silence of LAPD and the media that Mr. Combs indeed had power to harm him. He, LAPD, spent hours in CRS after the shooting of G, yet there were no arrests. Mr. G witnessed that the LAPD in the restroom pictured above, and there are no arrests made. The morning after the shooting, Mr. Jones and several others arrived at CRS, and G's blood was still on the floor of the restroom. Combs hired a cleaning crew to clean it up. Okay, so he has fixers. Yes, I guess he's the male Olivia Pope. Yes, okay. He's his private Olivia Pope. Okay, he got some fixers. Okay. I'm gonna take this moment to say, please hit the like button, whether you're here or not. Okay. If you're on the replay, hit the like button. It'd be really great. Thank you. We're halfway through this stuff. I don't know, just because I wanted to read to y'all, all of a sudden my allergies are like flaring up and my nose is itching on down. Okay. Might have to go grab another allergy pill, which I just found ironic because my nose has not been itching at all. And then all of a sudden when I want to read to you, like, it's getting on my nerves. It's annoying. Not Oliver Pope. You gotta call him Nigga Pope. Defendant Lucian Charles Grange, in his capacity as CEO of UMG, Motown Records, and Universal Music Group, through their general business partnership and their financial support of Sean Combs and Love Records, Inc., aided and abetted Mr. Combs' actions as detailed below. So they say these people gave him money to do the bull that he was doing. Yeah, I don't know what it is. Allergies, like, oh, okay. Anywho, on March 21st, 2024. Now, this is like the other day, okay? This is last week, y'all. Fast forward to last week. Former Motown Records chairwoman and CEO Ethiopia Habtemariam provided Mr. Jones with a declaration. See attachment B. According to I want to just say Habby, okay? Habtemariam declaration as Motown Records chairwoman, CEO, she reported directly to the defendant, Lucian Charles Grange. Okay. According to Habtemariam declaration, Motown Records entered into an agreement with Love Records in or about May 2020. I hope so, Black Diamond. According to Habtemariam declaration, UMG was aware of and authorized Motown Records to enter into a license agreement with Love Records. And according to Habtemariam declaration, under the license agreement, Motown Records agreed to pay for or reimburse Love Records for certain of the invoice recording costs incurred by Love Records in the making of the Love album. According to Habtemariam declaration, since leaving Motown Records in November 2022, she has not been involved with Love Records. Detailed throughout this pleading, the plaintiff Jones began working on the Love album in September 2022 until it was released in September 2023. And according to Mr. Jones, the recording of the Love album began in Chalice Recording Studios, where Combs hosted a nightly party where sex workers and alcohol laced with drugs were provided. Mr. Jones informed Mr. Combs that the Chalice Recording Studios sessions cost him over $500,000. In addition to the Chalice Recording Studios recording sessions, The Love album was recorded in Mr. Combs' homes in Los Angeles and Miami, Florida. Mr. Jones has a copy of every song recorded for the Love album, including the songs recorded on the yacht. The Mr. Combs and Love Records Inc. chartered from December 22nd, 2022 to January 2023. So you spent the whole holiday with this dude. Like, what about your family? Yeah, if I take Benadryl, I'm going to go to sleep. could do that, though, because I don't have to get up in the morning. Well, I got to get up in by the afternoon, though. According to Mr. Jones, every song has at least 5 versions. 5? This ain't the 90s where you make all these remixes. But I guess. And then many other songs never made it to the Love album. Each of these files is time-stamped and provides a clear timeline of the creation of the Love album. According to Mr. Jones, during the creation of the Love album, Mr. Combs was very serious about setting the mood and creating a love-making atmosphere. To accomplish this, Mr. Combs did the following. Installed a lighting system so he could adjust the lighting in the room to red, blue, pink, or any other color he wanted, depending on the mood he was going for. Mr. Combs required everyone working on the Love album to take shots of Ciroc and DeLeon alcohol. He would instruct either DeForest Taylor or KK to eliminate them if they refused. On several occasions, Mr. Combs would send voice notes to the Love album phone group chat and pose questions to the group, soliciting their opinions on Mr. Jones, questioning his loyalty and whether they think if he's a good fit for the team. Mr. Combs knew that Mr. Jones was on the group chat and in his house and received the voice notes. After witnessing several people sent home for refusing to engage in the acts Mr. Combs required to show loyalty, Mr. Jones feared what would happen to him if he told Mr. Combs no. This is another example of Mr. Combs' grooming of Mr. Jones. Well, with that being said, now at this point, Lil Rod has to take some accountability for his action. He didn't want to go home. And he was kind of greedy and wanted this money. So he decided to let Diddy play in between his legs and in his butt and, have sex with prostitutes just so he could be on this album. Now, this is a Christian man. And as a true Christian, and you a PK or something like that on top of it, you know that God can do anything. And God will deliver you out of any situation. They want to throw up this Christian card. And this is about the only time I'm going to put my 2 cents in here for real during this reading. He didn't believe in his God that he's professing that he serves. He didn't want to go home. He let the lust for money, which the love of money is the root of all evil, and his pursuit of fame and notoriety overtake his good judgment, which led him to drug use. And sexual lasciviousness. I can't even say the word lasciviousness. And it's a shame. I know anybody can be groomed, but when you're a grown-ass man, you can see with your own 2 eyes. And as a grown-ass man, if you want somebody to play in between your legs and in your butt. It's not easy to grope a man's asshole. You got to get up in there. And after the first time, you didn't slap the piss out of Diddy. You made that choice then. And I'm not saying nothing that Diddy is right. This is disgusting. But there is some accountability to this man. He allowed this man to manipulate him to the point that when he got him, and he couldn't turn away by then, you know. He was threatening his house, his family, his life. But at the start, you should have listened to Cat. When Diddy say he want a party, you got to tell him no. And that lifestyle is very attractive. And he made the wrong decision. And now he's stuck. Throughout creation of the Love album, Mr. Combs required Mr. Jones and others to solicit sex workers and engage in sex acts. According to Mr. Jones, Mr. Combs felt that you cannot make a love album without making love. As the general business partners of Sean Combs and Love Records and the financial backer for the creation of the Love album, defendant Lucian Charles Grange, in his capacity as CEO of UMG, Motown Records, Universal Music Group, had a duty to ensure that the financial support that they provided to Sean Combs and Love Records was not being used for sex workers, drugs, and laced alcohol. But how can he know where the money came from or where was it appropriated from? That's my question. It is no secret that Mr. Combs had specific bottles of alcohol designated for females and other bottles designated for his staff, his artists, and himself. And the fact was detailed by the former artists and bodyguards of Mr. Combs. Gene Deal, oh, here we go, they already said it. In the YouTube channel, The Art of Dialogue, former bodyguard Gene Deal exposed Mr. Combs' pill mixing method to spike cranberry juice and orange juice. According to Mr. Deal, Mr. Combs would place ecstasy and other rape drugs in the juices. Okay. The writer spoke with several former employees of Mr. Combs who witnessed the defendant, Karan, instruct her staff to lace the champagne, Deleon, Ciroc liquor bottles with ecstasy and other drugs. And they negated the YouTube links, everything. And shit like this make you scared, even though I'm just not an alcohol drinker. But, you know, it makes you want to look twice and when you go have a cool beverage with somebody, okay? On the YouTube Art of Dialogue, former artist Mark Curry exposed Mr. Combs spiking bottles of Moet champagne in the VIP section of nightclubs. Mr. Combs will have a set of Moet bottles of champagne for his artists and a set for women. And they set this picture up to say that that's KK and Sean. She is the Ghislaine Maxwell to Sean Combs' Jeffrey Epstein. Ooh, child, that's deep. According to Mr. Jones, during the 13 months he lived and traveled with Mr. Combs, he witnessed Mr. Combs display and distribute guns from his bedroom closets in Miami, Florida, and Los Angeles, California, to questionable individuals dressed in all black. According to Mr. Jones, according to 13 months he lived and traveled with Mr. Combs, he witnessed defendant Corium openly order her assistants to keep Mr. Combs high off of gummies and pills. Defendant Corium required all employees, from the butler to the chef to the housekeepers, to walk around with a black powder pouch or a fanny pack filled with cocaine GHB, ecstasy. And they got a recorder of this, gonna run to the court. Okay, we got the good stuff here. Not money, power, respect in my butt. Oh, in my butt. Marijuana gummies, 100 to 250 milligrams each. These people get high, okay? And Tucci, I had never even heard of these kind of things. Tucci, a pink drug that is a combination of ecstasy and cocaine. See, that's why they be wanting to have sex all the time. And they be, having them drugs that make you want to do that. Tucci. Hey, Amis. According to Mr. Jones, defendant Corium wanted Mr. Jones' drug of choice immediately ready when he asked for it. According to Mr. Jones, defendant Corium ordered sex workers for Mr. Combs. On one occasion, she sent Mr. Jones a text message requesting that he call a particular sex worker. We have the message. According to Mr. Jones, defendant Corium ordered and distributed ecstasy, cocaine, GHB, ketamine, marijuana, and mushrooms to Mr. Combs and his celebrity guests who were present on his rented yacht and in his homes in LA and Miami. They got high, okay? We're going to meet for that. According to Mr. Jones, on multiple occasions, defendant Corium forced him to carry Mr. Combs' drug pouch against his will. The pouches were always black, and several of Mr. Combs' staff carried black product pouches. According to Mr. Jones, defendant Corium also sent Mr. Jones to solicit sex workers for Mr. Combs. I don't know how many times we're going to say this. When the sex workers arrived at Mr. Jones's residence, defendant Corium would negotiate their price, and they would take them aside and pay them. Well, don't you negotiate the price before you pick up the prostitute? I'm just saying. I ain't have no cool beverage to nobody in the library. I know that's right. Welcome, Indigo Sage. Yeah, they was getting high. That's like, it's a gnat in here. That's probably what's making me itch. It was irritating me. Okay. Sean Combs' butler, Frankie, with the black Prada pouch mentioned above, while on the yacht from December 2022 to January 2023. As chief of staff, defendant Corium was instrumental in organizing and executing the RICO and TVPA enterprises. Defendant Corium had the following individuals execute the following tasks for the RICO and TVPA enterprises. Let me see, where's my daughter? Okay, she's at his house. That's my daughter getting home from work. Stevie J, he recruits sex workers and attends and participate in freak-offs. I can see him recruiting the sex workers, though. Look, he had a baby by Jocelyn, and she's a sex worker. Okay, we have a video of Mr. Combs and Stevie J and Plaintiff Jones at the strip club. Mr. Combs is recording the video while coaching and training Plaintiff Jones of how to recruit the sex worker. Is it really that hard to recruit a sex worker? I've been in a strip club before. You flash some money, bitch. Come on, let's go. And you can look at some of them, the ones that's going to go. Not that hard. At least my viewpoint. Justin Combs solicits prostitutes, underage girls, and sex workers would engage in a freak off. Can you imagine having a family reunion with you and your kids? Like, that's nasty. And what does that say? Oh, yeah, same thing. Brendan Paul works as Mr. Combs' mule. He acquires, distributes Mr. Combs' drugs and guns. That's the white man. It was a failed basketball player. Okay. And he's reduced his life to carrying drugs. Okay, I guess. Frankie Santella works alongside Brendan. While Brendan acquires and distributes Mr. Combs' drugs and guns, Frankie carries the money and pays for the guns and drugs. So, as a drug dealer, you cannot have the drugs together with the money and with the guns, because then, that's going to really be, a charge, intent to distribute in drug trafficking and all that. So, like, you can get caught with drugs and just be a drug charge. But it's one lesser charge. If you take my drugs, you ain't taking my money and my drugs. You know what I'm saying? You might take my money, you ain't gonna take my drugs. You for damn sure taking my gun. So that's an automatic felony charge. So I get it. The vice president of music manager and strategic partnership, vice president, blah, blah, blah. We don't need that. So Brandon is. That's who Frank is. Okay, and that's a picture of Frank. And, Diddy. Diddy used to be a little bit more fit when he was young. Moy Bond hires sex workers and attends and participates in the freak-offs. Okay, that's the dude that was in the corner. Okay. Who named it a freak-off? I'm just curious. Moy Bond, Thanksgiving 2022, when Combs offered Mr. Jones cocaine. And according to Mr. Jones, Mr. Combs funded his affiliation with local gangs and gang leaders who would frequent his homes in LA and Miami to secure the drugs and guns he obtained and distributed out of his homes in LA and Miami. Plaintiff has intentionally left the names and images of these individuals out of the pleading out of fear of retaliation. He'll provide the information to the court under seal or in camera. Okay, so check this out. I can believe this. I want to start doing more content on this channel, and by my time, school is almost over for like a month, for the summer. I want to read the Keefe D book, and he talks about running guns and stuff for Diddy, so I can kind of realize, or think about this going on. Hey, Silver Diamond, I got all my diamonds in today. Okay. So y'all let me know if you want to read this Keefe D book, because it talks about the Tupac shooting. Okay. According to Mr. Jones, defendant executed their RICO and TVPA enterprises with the threats of violence, threatening to eat the plaintiff's face, displaying and distributing guns in the plaintiff's presence, bragging about having law enforcement under control, bragging about murdering people, bragging about bribing witnesses and jurors in the criminal case concerning the 1999 New York nightclub shooting with Shine. As a result, Mr. Combs would maintain dominion and control over Mr. Jones. According to Mr. Jones, defendants executed this RICO and TVPA enterprises with threats of isolation from the music and entertainment industry, parading powerful music industry executives at his parties filled with sex workers and illegal drugs such as ecstasy, cocaine, GHB, ketamine, marijuana, and mushrooms. According to Mr. Jones, defendant Combs executed his RICO and TVPA enterprise with threats of non-payment for work completed, fake promises of cash payments, $250,000, producer of the year at the Grammy Awards, and guaranteed access to future projects, and the $20 million home on Star Island in Miami. If you think somebody finna give you $20 million for a few songs, your ass was stupid anyway. Mr. Combs is allowed to wreak havoc. While living and traveling with Mr. Holmes, Mr. Jones discovered that Mr. Combs had hidden cameras in every room of his home. Mr. Jones believes that Mr. Combs has recordings of several celebrities, artists, and music label executives and athletes engaging in illegal activity at Mr. Combs' functions. Upon information and belief, these individuals recorded without their knowledge and consent, as in this case with the homosexual sex tape that Mr. Combs provided to Mr. Jones, claiming to be Stevie J. Mr. Combs possesses compromising footage of every person who attended his freak-off parties and his house parties. Excuse me. Upon information and belief due to the treasure trove of evidence he has in his possession, Mr. Combs believes that he is above the law and untouchable. The law. Based on information and belief, Mr. Combs employs Jose Cruz as his IT director. This writer has spoken to several former employees of Mr. Combs who confirmed that Jose Cruz is the gatekeeper to all of Mr. Combs' recordings. Yes, the face. And they have said it multiple times. Upon information and belief, Jose Cruz intentionally hides behind the camera and from social media and from the internet due to all of the incriminating acts he was required to record for Mr. Combs. He got his phone number too. Defendant Mr. Combs hired private investigator Russell L. Green to seek out, harass, and bribe individuals to provide dirt on Mr. Jones. On or about March 2nd, 2024, Mr. Jones was informed by a close friend from his church that Mr. Combs, engineer Matt Testa, provided an individual's number to Los Angeles-based private investigator Russell Green. This is Russell Green, blah, blah, blah. Gave me your number. Are you available to speak with me? Hi, I can chat in a couple of hours if that's cool. Sounds good. I'm in an event from 3 to 5, so I'll be available after 5. I'm in the West Coast. Where are you? I'm in Los Angeles. I can talk at 1:30 as well. Okay. You available now? Did you just call me? Yes. How you just talking to a motherfucker? I wouldn't. And if I was this man who was scared for my life, I would not stay in LA. I would have came over here to the south side of Chicago and made friends with GDs. Probably the Blackstones because he got GDs taking care of him. Baby, you wouldn't have found me, okay? You better make friends with these Mexicans over here, these Vice Lords and MS-13s, whatever they got going on, okay? Information and belief Mr. Green attempted to bribe this anonymous individual into uncertain amount of money in exchange for her producing text messages or any evidence that this individual could produce to paint Mr. Jones in a bad light. During the call, Mr. Jones and individual expressed fear for their safety and safety of their family. This is a clear example of some of the tactics implemented by Mr. Combs and the members of the Combs RICO and TVPA enterprise. RICO. Besides contacting the individually previously mentioned, Mr. Green contacted Mr. Jones' 8-year-old daughter. You scumbag, you. He solicited information from the child about her father until she cried in fear and handed the phone to her mother. I don't even know why the fuck she was talking to strangers any goddamn way. And at that time, her mother hung up the phone. Mr. Green proceeded to text her, and she informed him that she did not want to be bothered, and he continued to send her unwanted, harassing text messages. You cannot solicit and question a minor. How the fuck do you even get away with that without threatening to be sued? First cause of action. Conduct and participate in a RICO enterprise through the pattern of racketeering activity, violation, and racketeer influence and corrupt organization act, codified, blah, 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 blah. All these defendants, right? Mr. Jones incorporates by reference all preceding paragraphs and realleges them as if he set forth fully herein. Defendant Lucien Charles Grange, in his capacity of CEO of UMG, Motown and Universal Music Group, the collective, is 100% liable for the actions of Sean Combs, and by extension, Love Records, Combs Global, Justin Combs, KK, the Rico orchestrators, as they were acting in their capabilities and collectives, general business partners when they committed the acts detailed below. The collective financially benefited from the defendants Sean Combs, Combs Enterprises, Love Records, Justin Combs, and KK through their partnership and distribution deal of Combs and Love Records. The collective provided defendants Sean Combs, Combs Enterprises, Love Records, Justin Combs, Christina Coram, and the unfettered access to financial resources in the form of wire transfers, direct payments, and invoice reimbursements, and failed to adequately investigate, supervise, and or monitor where the money was being used, who was using the money, and what the money was used for. So what they saying is he used the money for the hoes, and they should have been paying attention to that. The financial support provided by the collective was the lifeline that spearheaded and maintained and defended Sean Combs, Combs Enterprises, Love Records, Justin Combs, and Christina Coram's depraved actions. Upon information and belief, the establishment and distribution partnership deal between the collective and defendant Sean Combs, Combs Enterprises, Love Records, Justin Combs, Christina Coram was intentionally, writtenly, overly broad. For the defendant Sean Combs, Combs Enterprises, Love Records, Justin Combs, and Christina Coram to receive financial support from the collective, and they had to state what the payment was for the Love album related expenses. Well, the Writers Camp at CRS, the nightly club Love parties at CRS, and the yacht were all spaces that the defendant Sean Combs, Combs Enterprises, Love Records, Justin Combs, and Christina Coram utilized to produce songs that released on the Love album. The Love album related expenses reimbursement requirement was a ruse. The collective knew or should have known that the defendant Sean Combs, Combs Enterprises, Love Records, Justin Combs, and Christina Coram had no intention to utilize the collective's financial support for album-related expenses. They did not put any mechanism in place to ensure that the money was not being used for any illegal activity. The collective's willful blindness resulted in the plaintiff Jones suffering the harm detailed herein. As long as people grown enough to kiss them, there is no one being hurt. What they're gonna do today? Well, they saying they was fucking on the kids too, allegedly. Defendants, individuals, and entities with the meaning of person defined in 18 blah blah blah, because each is capable of holding what he does hold a legal or beneficial interest in property. The association composed Lucian Charles Grange, Sean Combs, Justin Combs, Christina Coram, Combs Global, Motown Records, Love Records, Universal Music Group, John and Jane Doe's 1 through 10, ABC Corporations 1 through 10. And relatively per U.S. Code 1961, 18 U.S. Code 1961, defines a racketeering activity as an act or threat involving murder, kidnapping, gambling, arson, robbery, bribery, extortion, dealing in an obscene manner, or dealing in a controlled substance or listed chemical as defined in Section 102 of the Controlled Substances Act, which chargeable under state law and punishable imprisonment for more than 1 year, which is indictable under the following provision. Look, I ain't finna read this shit. Okay. This is the racketeering charges that they could have. Okay. Let's spread that. Okay. Let's go down to 210. Throughout this pleading, Mr. Jones has detailed many acts of the defendants of Sean Combs, Combs Enterprises, Love Records, Justin Combs, and Christina Coram, which are prohibited under 18 U.S.C. Act 1962. Defendants have unlawfully increased their profits by luring and deceiving producers, musicians, writers, creators, and artists, such as the plaintiff, to their organization for a misstated purpose of using their talents as creatives to produce music. Defendants' true intentions are later revealed through calculated grooming scheme that involves false promises of business opportunities, exposure to music executives with the promise of future introductions, and the promise of awards and accolades, which quickly shifts to unauthorized drugging, threats of bodily harm, sex trafficking, and sleep deprivation. Yeah. According to Mr. Jones, defendants Combs often required Mr. Jones to work for several consecutive days without sleep. So what did he do to stay up? Crack? Cocaine? According to Mr. Jones, it was imperative to always look like he was working whenever Mr. Combs walked by. Within a few months of working and living with Mr. Combs, Mr. Jones witnessed KK instruct her direct reports and Combs Enterprise employees, Brendan, Frankie, and Moy, to acquire and transport the following drugs: ecstasy, cocaine, GHB, ketamine, marijuana, and mushrooms. Mr. Jones personally witnessed Combs Enterprise employee Brandon transport firearms from the nightclubs, strip clubs, and other venues from Mr. Combs on his person in Miami, Florida. Mr. Jones personally witnessed Mr. Combs distribute firearms out of his bedroom closet to individuals that Jones knew to be members of local gangs. And they said intentionality is vague and fear of personal safety. He could provide more detail in the court on camera. Okay. During the making of the Love album, several evenings, Mr. Jones personally witnessed Mr. Combs instruct the Combs Enterprise employees, Brendan, Frankie, and Moy, to solicit sex workers to the recording studio and at his homes and to the Chalice recording studios. According to Mr. Jones, Mr. Combs felt there was too much testosterone in the studio and wanted sex workers there to create a vibe for the Love album. And these workers arrived, and Mr. Jones and other musicians and producers were required to engage in sex acts with them. KK and Frankie would often negotiate the price for sex worker services, and they would either pay the workers in cash, electronically, Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, or wire transfer. Can I buy you some pussy? I Cash App you. You know what I'm saying? Or through another form requested by the sex worker. As detailed in the chart below, Mr. Jones was groomed into soliciting sex workers for calls, and he often negotiated the cost via text message. Can you imagine you buying some pussy with a Cash App? Baby, what do you take? Do you take Venmo? Yes, I do. Okay. You can send it to my PayPal, you know. They say Justin Bieber really didn't stay with him. He got away, but y'all not gonna keep talking about my husband. They've already implicated Usher. Possibly here. Okay. Excuse me, got a little yawn. We're almost done. We're more than halfway done. We're 2/3 done. The RICO enterprise, which all defendants have engaged in activities of which affected interstate and foreign commerce, is compromised of an association. In fact, the persons, including each defendant and other unnamed conspirators. The association was structured by various general partnership agreements, establishment details, distribution deals, contracts, and non-contractual relationships between the defendants, by which the defendants assume different roles and either knowingly or unknowingly, negligently funding, directly or indirectly participating in the acts necessary to carry out a scheme that Todd set up to acquire and distribute drugs, firearms, prostitutes, sex workers. I don't pay taxes on my Cash App. They also work collectively to deceptively obtain labor of producers, musicians, writers, creators, and other artists, such as the plaintiff, to utilize their talents and labor to produce music and other tangible goods and services without full compensation. As detailed herein, plaintiff Jones worked for Mr. Combs for 13 months. Combs' enterprise employee Frankie solicited him to produce for the Love album. Frankie and Mr. Combs agreed to provide Mr. Jones with $20,000 per song for royalty points per song, credit as producer, credit for each instrument Mr. Jones played, and publishing rights for Mr. Jones in exchange for Mr. Jones' services on the Love album. Over 13 months, Mr. Jones fulfilled his end of the contract and provided services for the Love album. Mr. Combs benefited from Mr. Jones' services and refused to compensate him by their agreement. Mr. Jones was not the only creative who had his services stolen by Mr. Combs. Many creatives worked for months on the Love album and were never compensated for their work. Let me see what y'all said. You can rarely get refunds on Cash App, but I mean, like, once you give out sex, it's not like you can take it back, or you can say, like, you know, hey, I didn't like it, I want a refund. You know what I'm saying? Hey. Oh, that's what was moving. It was a screen moving over here. Give me 1 second. There we go. Okay. According to Habituranium Declaration, the collective reimbursed or paid for the production of the Love album. Mr. Jones was not compensated. So if Mr. Habituranium Declaration is correct, what was the collective financial support used for? And what mechanism did the collective have in place to ensure that the money provided for the defendants, Sean Combs, Combs Enterprises, Love Records, Justin Combs, and Christina Coram, were used for the purposes outlined in the collective's partnership deal with the defendant, Sean Combs, Combs Enterprises, Love Records, Justin Combs, and Christina Coram? You think I would have to cash out? Well, you ain't doing that for Cash App. Oh yeah, you could just file your Cash App on the taxes. They don't just charge taxes like that. The collective that defended Sean Combs, Combs Enterprises, Love Records, Justin Combs, and Christina Coram all share the common purpose: to use deception, coercion, force, or the threat of violence to enrich themselves at the expense of individuals like the plaintiff. As set forth herein, although members of the collective may not have directly threatened, coerce, force, or violently threatened the plaintiff, they financially benefited from the defendants, Sean Combs, Combs Enterprises, Love Records, Justin Combs, Christina Coram, scheme of defrauding and intimidating the plaintiff with threats of violence, threatening to eat the plaintiff's face, displaying and distribution of guns in the plaintiff's presence, bragging about having law enforcement under control, bragging about murdering people, bragging about bribing witnesses and jurors in a criminal case concerning the 1999 New York City nightclub shooting was at Shine. Threats of isolation from the music entertainment industry, parading influential music industry executives at Mr. Combs' parties filled with sex workers, minors, illegal drugs, such as ecstasy, cocaine, GHB, ketamine, marijuana, and mushrooms. They sure do make sure they repeat this shit over and over again. Threats of non-payment for work completed, fake promises, cash payments of $250,000, producer of the grant year of the Grammy Awards, guarantee access to future products, and a $20 million home on Star Island in Miami. It is reasonable to believe that the defendants, Sean Combs, Combs Enterprises, Love Records, Justin Combs, Christina Coram, would have not engaged in these acts and threats, but for the existence of the RICO scheme and their understanding that the collective would provide unfettered access to financial resources without ever questioning defendant Sean Combs Enterprises Love Records Justice Combs Diddy Combs use of the money. This sounds like the 12 Days of Christmas. Every time I read it, they add some shit to it. No, you don't have to pay. I think Black Diamond, what it is when people like here on YouTube, a lot of people are gig workers and they get cash apps, like a lot of them. And after a while, actually, the government knows if you're doing this shit or not, right? It'll be triggered like, okay, you getting all this money, like who are you getting the money from? And various, entities. So if that's your form of income, you will file it on your taxes. That's all. But they don't take taxes out of the cash app. No. Upon information and belief, the collective defendants, all these niggas, okay, had several partnerships through the years. And as is the case here, defendant UMG provided Mr. Combs an unfettered access to financial dollars in exchange for Mr. Combs and defendant Sean Combs Enterprises Love Records, Justin Combs and Christina Corbin providing defendant UMG with the fruits of labor of producers, musicians, writers, creatives, and artists, such as the plaintiff, to utilize their talents and labor to produce music and other tangible goods and services without full compensation. So this is a breakdown of their partnership. Now they got the money. I'll leave that on the screen for 2 seconds. If you really need to see it, you can pause it, rewind it, smack it up, flip it down, however you want to. Okay. As outlined in the chart above, from 2003 to 2005, defendant Combs and then CEO owner of Bad Boy Records entered a joint venture deal with Universal Music, a subsidiary and defendant of the Universal Music Group. Upon information and belief at the time of defendant Combs and UMG entered their 3-year joint venture, and it was public knowledge that Mr. Combs had a serious reputation for violence and engaging in criminal activity. Defendant UMG had firsthand knowledge of Combs' propensity for violence because on April 16, 1999, defendant Combs assaulted Steve Stout, their executive vice president of Interscope Geffen Records A&R. Combs was arrested and charged with 2 felonies, second-degree assault and criminal mischief, in the beating of Steve Stout, who says Combs and 2 bodyguards beat him with their fist, a telephone, a champagne bottle, and a chair. Mr. Combs had a criminal trial surrounding the 1999 nightclub shooting in New York City, when Mr. Combs required his then-girlfriend, Jennifer Lopez, to transport his illegal firearm into the New York City nightclub. And as you look at the notes, Puff is a rare person in the music industry today. They can move the culture in many areas, fashion, TV, music, as well as making records. Commented the IGA chairman, Jenny Iving. Whenever a free agent like him comes along, which is where you grab him. No, I really need to put shit, was it? Okay. Is they got no, he is not in jail. Not at the moment. In 2001, former television host Roger Mills, Roger Mills, sued Mr. Combs for assault. The case did not end until 2004, 2 years into the joint venture deal. Despite all these public warning signs of a pattern and practice of behavior that the evidence of propensity to engage in violent crimes and other criminal activity, defendant UMG chose to enter a general partnership agreement with Mr. Combs. Defendant UMG knew or should have known that the duty to monitor how financial resources they provided to Mr. Combs would be spent upon the information and belief from 2009 to 2015, the collective defendants, all of them, contended the RICO enterprise when Mr. Combs, UMG, and Mr. Grange entered a general business partnership to intentionally distribute music produced by Mr. Combs and Bad Boy Records. As a part of the deal, UMG provided financial support to Mr. Combs, paid for all expenses related to the development and distribution of the music Mr. Combs and Bad Boy Records produced. In or about 2022 and 2023, the collective defendants established a latest iteration of the RICO enterprise when they entered a general business partnership to establish Love Records and to distribute Love Records' first album, Love Album Off the Grid. According to the declaration of Ms. Hab to Miriam, as the chairwoman and CEO of Motown Records, she reported directly to defendant Lucien Grange. Ms. Haterarian also states that she was given approval by the defendant UMG to enter a partnership with Sean Combs to establish Love Records. It is safe to assume defendant Lucien George, Ms. Haterarian's direct supervisor, was aware of and signed off on UMG and Sean Combs' partnership, which led to the establishment of Love Records. According to Ms. Haterarian, defendants UMG and MR financed Mr. Combs for approved invoices associated with the creation of the Love album. Ms. Haterarian did not identify any mechanism MR or UMG implemented to ensure the financial support remitted by Mr. Combs and Love Records went to approve invoices associated with the Love album. If the treatment of the plaintiff Jones is any indication of how defendants UMG and MR ensured their financing of Love Records, the Love album was applied in accordance with the partnership agreement, then they would have an unfettered access to financial dollars in exchange. Oh, wait, wrong page. They would have realized that the artists like the plaintiff Jones had to work for several months on the Love album without full compensation. Yeah, she's what they call it, she's testifying against Diddy, so I hope that she is protected. Basically, if she come up missing, then it is what it is. I don't think I'm going to read. I'm not. I thought I could read through this whole 100 pages, but it's a little bit more daunting than I thought. So I'm going to come to an end shortly because it's 2 hours. Now I don't want no 4-hour video. But let's continue. Upon information and belief, the collective finance defendants, all of them, in the manner described by Ms. Haterarian's declaration, then it is safe to assume that they finance the recording costs at Chalice Recording Studios. Defendant Combs houses in Miami and Los Angeles, as well as the yacht, as evidenced by posts Mr. Combs made in his Instagram page from September 2022 to September 2023, on or about the time the Love album was released, as well as videos and photos in Mr. Jones' possession. Defendant Sean Combs Enterprises, Love Records, Justin Combs, Christina Karam did more than just record music. On a daily basis, the defendants had sex workers and endless drugs flowing through the recording sessions at CRS and Mr. Combs' homes on the yacht, which Mr. Combs rented. Unless the collective had an overseer present at the recording sessions to account for how the money they provided with the defendants was being spent, it is safe to say they were complicit in allowing their money to pay for illegal drugs and sex workers. As evidenced by hundreds of hours of audio recordings in the plaintiff's possession, defendants Sean Combs and all the rest of them, his assistants and staff, all orchestrated, participated, managed, and executed the RICO enterprise by purchasing and distributing ecstasy, cocaine, GHB, ketamine, marijuana, and mushrooms. They transported the drugs by flying on commercial airlines from California to New York, Florida, the Virgin Islands, and the St. Barts in the French Caribbean. They placed these controlled substances on their carry-on luggage through TSA. They then carried these substances in black pouches and distributed the drugs to Mr. Combs, his friends, house guests, girlfriends, and sex workers. He got a private plane, and they fly a commercial with drugs. And how did they get through? Yes, Black Diamond tomorrow. Hey, Yvette. The RICO Enterprises has functioned as a continuing union and maintains an ascertainable structure and separate and distinct from the pattern of racketeering activity. Upon information and belief, the enterprise was characterized by the collective by providing unlimited, unchecked financing to the defendant Sean Combs and Love Records for the establishment of Love Records and creation of the Love album. Defendant Sean Combs, Love Records, Christina Corium had a pattern of making false representations, omissions to the artists, creatives, musicians, and producers who use their talents to provide services to the RICO enterprise. These false representations and omissions were designed to induce artists, creatives, musicians, and producers to utilize their talents and labor to produce music and other tangible goods and services without full compensation. These artists, producers, and creatives and musicians were also forced to solicit and participate in sexual encounters with prostitutes and sex workers. They were also required to transport illegal, unregistered handguns and to purchase and distribute narcotics. As a part of the scheme, defendants were required by their artists, creatives, and musicians and producers to visit strip clubs, wear exclusive bad boy merchandise, to use the name and the reputation of Mr. Combs, to solicit sex workers and prostitutes. There go little Rod and the white boy Brendan, where the bad boy at, so they can get prostitutes. According to Mr. Jones, they used the prospects of winning Grammy Awards, purchasing $20 million homes, participating in future products, making $250,000 in cash payments, meeting influential music industry executives, and this pattern of false representation was disseminated to artists, creators, musicians, producers who reside in California, Florida, New York, and around the country by defendants based in California, Florida, and New York. So yes, under the direction and on behalf of the defendants in New York, the dissemination typically used interstate telephone wires, social media messages, and electronic mail. Okay, we are 2:25. We got to put a pin in this. We got quite a ways to go, but we covered a lot of ground. All right. All the way up 2:25. Let me put it on there. Hopefully my computer don't restart or nothing. There we go. So let me look at y'all's last comments. Yes, please hit the like button. I guess they didn't want to help on it. Yeah, why you didn't want them on the plane? I know you don't want all the drugs on your plane because that's what happened to Juice WRLD and a few people, but it seemed weird like you could even have them on a separate private plane. Yeah, but it's okay for them. I'm still curious of how they got through TSA. What all them weird kind of drugs? You ain't gonna sit up and say, I'll take all this medication for my blood pressure. Like, I'm curious. Snuff Daddy. Oh, yeah, it's crazy. So yes, I will be back tomorrow. Probably much, much, much earlier to read and get down because I need to turn in these homework assignments. Yeah, I guess a lot, right? To get all the way to the plane. But I will post up. Also, I need to put a community tab about this Keefe D book. I think with the Keefe D and the Gene, oh, excuse me, the Keefe D and the Gene Deal stuff and this Puffy is really going to expose a lot. Well, they have invited his BS down there, him down there with Carisha. Okay? Carisha over there with Diddy. They fucked up the time. Okay? So with that being said, I am not going to elongate this no longer than what it is. I want to say thank you for coming out to watch. If you're watching this in live or in the replay, please make sure that you hit the like button. You show some love to the sister. Please make sure, double, triple check that you are subscribed to the channel. Okay, make sure you're subscribed. Hit the notification bell so you know when I'm going live next. And try to pick up the pace just a little bit more. Also, if you want to give to the channel, everything is below it, up at the top. Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, Super Chat, super thanks at the end of the video. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for being here for me to read too. Tell a friend, House of the Princess, the lights are on in the palace, and I appreciate you all. If nobody has told you that they love you today, I will tell you that I love you. It's time for me to turn out the lights. Have a good evening.